did we just live through? 42 goals. Oh, just your average day in the Champions League. Arsenal and Bayern sumo wrestle at the Emirates. A night of joy, wonder, ballads for Arsenal Football Club. Deliver a win, heard round the world. 3-1 Liverpool, though. Suddenly like the Millhouse of football. Everybody wins at Anfield these days. Apart from the Reds. Oh, PSV Eindhoven, the latest to come in and absolutely do them by 3 goals or more. Spurs, valiant but not enough. Going down with all hands at PSG. The bold pursuit of near misses. Stop me if you've heard that before. And David Luiz, aged 87, scoring his first Champions League goal in more than 8 years, coming off a trademark header for mighty Paphos. I will, of course, touch upon Manchester United 0, Everton 1. Obviously, the biggest European game of the week. But I'm not here alone to break it down, to make it make sense. Joy to welcome back the beard of truth, the brain of dimensions, the Umberto Eco of football, from The Athletic, to Mr. James Horncastle.
Rog, thanks for inviting me back. Always a pleasure to be with you, particularly on a night of, as you said, 42 goals.
It's an orgy. It was an orgy. It wasn't football. It was an orgy. But happy Thanksgiving Eve, Horny. What are you thankful for?
Well, I'm thankful to be here. Thank you for the, as you mentioned, that Caligula-style orgy of goals with horses involved.
We only watch football for the horses. I'm grateful for your new book, The Soccer 100, which obviously Christian Pulisic is in his rightful place at number 1, right?
Of course. I mean, there might be a revised edition after Christian leads the US to the World Cup victory and Trump passes him the trophy in New York. I'm sure you'll be there, Rog, and we'll all doff our caps.
You will be there. I think the Trump will probably be our starting striker in that final if it happens, and glory is guaranteed. We're getting ahead of ourselves. By the way, Horny will be out next week in New York City on the 5th and Boston on the 6th. Both shows are sold out, such as his heft and popularity in both cities up and down the East Coast. But this is the big match breakdown. It's presented by Football Manager 2026. Football Manager 26 live across platforms. Purchase it now to define your managerial destiny on a slot. Give it a bit of work. And we're not here alone. This big match breakdown live on YouTube, which means you, dear GFOPs, can come on the show, ask James questions about tonight's football, about anything in Europe, about life. Here's how. Scan the QR code at the top left of your screen. Take you into a Zoom with our producer, the quite valiant Tony. We'll get you set up to come on and ask your question in a moment. Come and be with us. Get in the chat. Get cracking. Give us a couple of likes. Subscribe. Just come and be with us. Chat is humming at Daniel Horton 8826. My favourite of all the 8,827. Daniel Horton says, what a night for football. We're about to change that, Danny H. At Demi D. Dre says, when should Arsenal supporters get their treble tattoos designed? Now or next week? Now! Isn't that right, James? Why would you wait?
Yeah, not just treble tattoos,
Yeah.
I mean, we got into some trouble at the end of last season for remarking on the floppy cannon at Arsenal, PSG. Well, that cannon's not floppy anymore. That cannon is standing.
Yeah,
tall.
even the Tifo game has been upgraded. By the way, when James does come out to New York, he and his emo cover band, the Floppy Cannons, are going to be playing a couple of gigs. I love that. The Floppy Cannons. At KM Bum says, as good as today's Champions League matches are, the big match still has to be Monday's match between United and Everton. Yes, we will get to that before the night is out. Yes, we will. But to the football, the Champions League football. Arsenal 3, Bayern Munich 1. Unts. Today, what a sizzling prospect. The champions-elect of England. Did I just curse them by saying that? Against the Perma champions of Germany. The Michael Elise Eberechi derby. The Palacio. Harry Kane returning to the ground where he scored more than any other visiting human being. Not tonight, H. 2 changes to the Arsenal side that gave Spurs that bare-bottom beat-down. Mosquera in for Hincapié at centre-back, and Mars Lewis-Skelly was exhumed to give the handsomeness of Calafiori a little bit of a break at the back. The Gooners had won all 4 games so far in the league phase, actually had not yet conceded a goal, but Bayern, a team in their own pomp moment, also 100% record. I mean, this was delicious stuff. They had Kane, 27 goals he scored already this season. Who does he think he is? Erling Haaland. James, can you reconjure the emotions you felt pre-game? Were you hyped for this beauty? Or does this crazily forgiving Champions League format, in which the football is kind of played without jeopardy for the loser, does it reduce the Horncastle pulse just a bit?
No, I mean, I was already seeing a lot of people on social media saying, this game is meaningless. I didn't feel that, particularly on the back of the North London derby. It felt like 2 of the biggest games in recent Arsenal history, which is saying an awful lot, really, when you think of what they've been building towards over the last 5 years, all of the things that they've achieved under Mikel Arteta, albeit only 1 FA Cup. But yeah, in terms of progress, definitely. No Tifo this time. I was disappointed, Rog. I mean, I've remarked on the floppy cannon already. They clearly have spent 6 months on the one that they prepared for the North London derby.
Blown their load.
Blown their load. Didn't think this game was worth it. Didn't think it was worthwhile doing something for. So
where do you think the floppy cannon is? Do you think it's somewhere like folded up, stored, or do you think it's been sent off to the shredders? I genuinely would love in like 100 years' time someone to find this as the only remnant of our civilization, like at the end of Planet of the Apes, and they try and make sense of who we were as a people by the floppy cannon tifo. I mean, it is kind of fascinating. Whether it means everything or it means nothing. Ultimately, what James is saying, to paraphrase, this game was not meaningless. It's just life, viewers, that's meaningless. Am I right? This game meant everything. Let's pretend anyway. I was fascinated to see, honestly, whether Arsenal could seize this moment to announce themselves to the rest of the field, and also kind of an experiment scientifically. This is for me, the most fascinating thing about the Champions League, whether it's easier for a team who are dominant in their own league, like your Bayerns, like your PSG, to keep their players fresher for the big moments in the Champions League, grip or grapple. But you wouldn't have known that from the first engagement, because Arsenal could have been 2 up in the first 5 minutes. They created chances at will. They blew the finishing. Then 22nd minute, a corner that, I don't know how it was. I know you watch these games on Italian television with Italian commentary, so I don't know what they said about it. But to me, the opening goal was like ripped from the NBA. Arsenal just know how much they can get away with putting the keeper off without that being called foul. They boxed Neuer out, almost ran. I think in the NBA it's a double screen to seal him off originally. Just a little bump early on. And Neuer was so confused, left in no man's land. During Timber finished here, the Bible brother. This was as close, James. I don't know how they analysed it on the Italian television. Close to an NBA player as you'll get, and Bayern did not know what hit them.
No, and I think, Arteta has spoken quite a lot about how he uses his assistants as offensive coordinators, special plays, all that kind of stuff. And you do see, I found it fascinating, his pre-match press conference last night. One of the reporters kind of trying to ingratiate himself to Mikel Arteta by saying, wow, against Spurs in the North London derby, every goal was from open play. And we're not just set piece Arsenal anymore. And Arteta was like, I mean, he's clearly just got a set piece fetish. He was like, I was disappointed we did not score a set piece. All of a sudden, that's how they opened the scoring again. And you know what? I think watching some of the other Premier League teams and how they've scored goals in the Champions League this match day, it does sometimes look like rifles versus spears, in terms of just like they're so dominant when it comes to set plays. It's like they've got a cheat code or a weapon that nobody else has, nobody else can use. And yeah, even a defense as good as Bayern's, which I don't think had conceded in the Champions League this season, had only conceded 7 goals all season. They're powerless to it. Manny Neuer, with all his experience and size, still can't handle that. So
Couldn't handle the craft of the corner again. It was a little bump early on that sent him back, so he couldn't come out for the ball. He didn't know how to recover. They were utterly exposed. They'd given the Bayern had set up to give Manuel Neuer space and time to come out. And this is your zone to clear the ball. They gave him that bump, rocked him back. He couldn't come out, and boom, it was that. He didn't just look beaten. He looked utterly confused. 39 years of age now. When he's angry, he looks more and more like Tom Hanks in the, I think, Sully era Hanks.
I love his now. He's got a pencil mustache.
Yes, I know. It's like Hanks. It's like, I will land this on the water. At Radiant Productions 9799. Again, probably my top 10,000 Radiant Productions says, tats now, lads. It's official. By the way, we're all getting them. It's all of us or none of us getting this tat, guys. So let's make a decision together in the next 90 minutes. Daryl NEF 6560 says, quite cruelly, I can't read this out. Neuer, time to retire, Grandpa. He's not Grandpa. He's Unk. Bayern knew they were up against it. Remember, Arsenal had not conceded in the entire Champions League this season, which is just incredible. I've got William Saliba coming on Friday, and I am going to talk to him about what that feels like to be Arsenal, the bullied who are now bullying their opponents. It must feel, I can only imagine, it must feel phenomenal. But the Germans couldn't live for long spells with the intensity, Arsenal's press, the physicality, until suddenly they could. So powerfully, but simply a diagonal ball from deep by Kimmich, met on the volley by Gnabry, who just sped past Miles Lewis-Skelly, charged into the box, cushioned the ball perfectly to a young, who? Lennart Karl, 17 years, 277 days, finished, first time, ruthlessly on the volley. It was a stunningly emphatic team moment. First of all, James, let me ask you a question everyone in football is asking. Lennart Karl, 17. I think if only the Germans had a word for Wunderkind, compared constantly to Messi, which feels lazy because I don't think Messi could have grown that moustache at age 17. But James, what do you think of this teeny bopper?
Yeah, I mean, it's clearly it's Movember in the Bayern dressing room. I'm pretty disappointed. Kane hasn't.
Movember.
Movember bar. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'm all for someone who's called Lenny by his teammates. Sort of, Lennart. Okay, in Bavaria, maybe it's still a popular name, but outside of Bavaria, not so much. And so yeah, just any kind of like Leonard Cohen kind of sort of equivalent in German football. 17 years old, Lenny Karl. And I mean, there's a goal on YouTube. What viewers just go and search this out. It's like in a futsal game. It's ridiculous what this kid can do. Like
with that left foot. I mean, it's just utterly. It's just from the gods.
Yeah. I mean, I just hope Liverpool don't sign him and he doesn't have the same fate as Florian Wirtz. Just stay at Bayern, Lenny. And let the world be your oyster from there.
Come to Everton, Lenny. I mean, he is what we say he is. I mean, it's like Eduardo Galeano. What did he say? Maradona played as if the ball was stuck to his shoe. Lionel Messi played as if the ball was stuck inside his shoe. I mean, what we've seen of this gentleman on a tiny body of work that we are utterly losing our minds over, despite the fact that he's played like a handful of games and impacted them with confidence, fearlessness. I mean, you've watched him a little more than I have. This is the hype, the talk, the wonder. This is real.
Yeah, and you have to take your hat off to German football. I mean, they keep creating these diminutive number 10s who are extremely silky to watch. They play football the way it should be played. I think the way that all of us think of ourselves playing it when we actually can't play it like that in any way at all. Like for 2 decades, we've been told that these players have sort of been crushed. They're not. They don't have the physical ability anymore to cope in the modern game with all the physicality, the pressing, coming up against your Salibas and that sort of stuff. And instead, I think, regardless of what the result was tonight, these guys show that they can do it in the same way that Xavi and Iniesta showed that they could do it against kind of conventional wisdom about actually, no, you all need to be 6'5", weigh 200 pounds in order to be competitive anymore. I love it when a player like Lenny Carr comes through.
This is just me and James still talking ourselves into being contenders. We still got our shot. By the way, I don't think you will see Arsenal's backline torn apart like that again this season. It was a stunning moment that backline was torn asunder. And what's amazing is it's been a decade since Arsenal last beat Bayern in European competition. I think they'd won just 3 out of 14 clashes between the two. They rippled their muscles. They tried to enforce their will. They slung free kick and corner at Neuer, who flinched yet stood strong. But then, in the Football Manager 26 manager decision of the match, deep into the second half, Mikel Arteta inserted Calafiori for Miles Lewis-Skelly, who really toiled, and his impact was immediate. He slapped across a stunning ball across the face of goal, invited, Nate begged to be lashed in, and it was Madueke who did the honours. First Arsenal goal in this massive night. It was so lovely to see him point up to the skies, relief, joy, meaning I bet you he can't believe how his life has changed over the past 12 months. Gab Martinelli, stunning first touch, back from injury, humiliated Manuel Neuer to run in on goal for the kill shot. So much joy for Arsenal Football Club at the moment. It reminds me of Liverpool in their pomp last season. All the songs, all the vibes, all the memories, all the jokes, all the joys. By the way, all the injuries still, but so much depth. Bayern beaten for the first time in 18 games this season. In the scheme of things, in the forgiving nature of this big goal opening round Champions League stuff, what does this win actually mean, James?
Well, I mean, you look at it now. They beat PSG in the league phase this time last year at the Emirates. They beat Real Madrid, and now they've beaten Bayern. I mean, that is quite a roll call of making yourself very credible as a contender, not only for the Premier League, obviously, but also for the Champions League. And we've talked about how they've been sort of trending towards at least the Champions League final now, having gone to quarterfinal 2 years ago, semi-final last year. It's on this year. It's really on this year. And as you mentioned, all those injuries that they have, I mean, Martin Odegaard, people talking about where's Odegaard going to fit in now after Eze and everything Eze achieved in the North London derby. Gyökeres and Kai Havertz out. Doesn't really matter when you've got this. I mean, what is Mikel Merino? What is he? Is he? I mean, just the repurpose.
This is an amazing Foucault book or something. Like, there's a book of a deep philosophy. What is Mikel Merino? That's genuine. You'll win the Nobel Prize for philosophy if you can answer this question. How would you answer that question?
Well, I mean, I think it would confound René Descartes. I think it's the sort of thing that would make Nietzsche punch a horse in Turin. It's tricky. And then, I mean, the guys coming off the bench today, Roger. I mean, you mentioned Calafiori and Martinelli. I mean, like these are some of the readers' emails I get, Rog. I'm an Australian traveling around Europe, and you know what the best thing about the London transport system is? Seeing this hot Italian stud on billboards wearing Adidas underwear. Riccardo Calafiori is his name. Wow.
Like I said, it was an orgy. It's not football. We don't watch it for the football. It is amazing. I went to interview Mikel Arteta, not this time, last time, but the season before, the off-season where they just signed Calafiori. And I spent all day with another English journalist who we were both waiting. And we were chatting about the weird stuff that I do. And anyway, Arteta came in, did an interview with me. It was really lovely. So the English journalist tried to do like stuff like I do, which is never advisable for anybody. And his first question, he goes, Calafiori. And Arteta was like this, like back, and he goes, very, very sexy hair. and Arteta just like deadpanned him. That's what I think of every time I see him. Anyway, Arsenal, top of the table, 3 points clear the rest of the Champions League pack. Are they now favourites for the tournament? That is a question. Mikel Arteta has been trying to actually just complete dead bat it in the same way as he did the question about Calafiori's sexy hair. Something fascinating to me very quickly. James, this idea, but the first time I ever interviewed Pep Guardiola at Manchester City, he went off on this for Everton me, and I didn't understand it then. I understand it, but I don't understand it. He went off to this city. I'm not going to do a bad Pep impression, but he shouted it. He was like, "This city, how can they win the Champions League? They have no history of winning the Champions League. You can't win the Champions League without the history. You must have the history, the winning culture." He was essentially saying, how hard it is to break not winning the Champions League. Like, it takes years. You can't just do it. Arteta said something similar, and it really fascinates me, Horny. He said he believes Arsenal, quote, remain in a different universe to European heavyweights such as Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, because they've won the Champions League. We've never won the Champions League in our history. Bayern have won it 6 times. We are not there compared with Real Madrid. They're a different universe. Can you explain that? How past successes, completely different players, different managers, different cultures, different contexts, different realities, but them having won it mentally in the past impacts the present.
Yeah, I would recommend any of our viewers to go to Madrid and go to the Bernabeu. I mean, this is the most extreme example, but what they do now is when you get off the bus as the opposing team, you have to walk in front of all of Madrid's Champions League trophies before you get to the dressing room. And it's there, it's the psychology. And then when you're out on the training pitch, out on the first team pitch, doing the walk around with your little espresso, and you look at the big screen overhead, they just play the winning goal from every final Real Madrid has ever won. And it's literally like a halo. It's an aura that is around you. And players in those dressing rooms talk about even before kickoff, feeling like they're 1-0 down, and that is what teams that have won this competition have, and teams that haven't won this competition just don't have.
Well, video clips.
Okay, so I like this, Rog. Maybe what Mikel Arteta should now do is create some kind of AI slop. He should go on like Sora. Yeah. And kind of invent 15 finals where Arsenal have won the Champions League. Just
like Shamak rising up to head the ball over an outstretched hand of Manuel Neuer to win the 2014 Champions League final for Arsenal.
When Zoran Mandami was talking about how he thinks every day about Shamak, Squillaci, and Pascal Sigan, you can just get some AI to have those three in a very flowing move, scoring a winning goal against Real Madrid for Arsenal's fifth consecutive Champions League title. And that's it. That's it.
You fixed it. Or else just show a video of the floppy cannons. That's what we're talking about. From Premier League joy to Premier League joy, turning to ashes in our mouths. I take no pleasure in this. Liverpool 1, PSV 4. The fact that it was a Dutch team must have hurt double, or whatever the word is, for old Orangie Boom Arne Slot. Before the game, Slot said he, quote, feels guilty for Liverpool's alarming slump in form, described their spectacular unravelling as, quote, ridiculous. And so we rubberneckers, we assembled to see Liverpool, who'd lost, was it 6 of the last 7 in the Premier League? They made 2 changes into the Forest game. Mamashvili in for Alisson, poor Isak out, Hugo Ekitike in, which meant the struggling trio of Mo Salah, Konate and Cody Gakpo all kept their places, which suggests that line about the definition of insanity has not yet been translated into Dutch, James.
No, I mean the Dutch are very opinionated people. It's hard to change the mind of Dutchmen, and the persistence of playing Kerkez, against everyone's sort of better judgment. Nope, Arne Slot knows better. Or does he? I mean, you mentioned he felt guilty and felt what's going on
ridiculous.
Is ridiculous. Yeah. He was saying on English media before the game, he was like, "I'm just really confused."
I know. I mean, he's a very honest man, and I'm finding his comments increasingly, it almost verging on like a bald Amarim, but like as a truth teller in a time of chaos. But this match got off to a drunken start. 6 minutes in, Virgil van Dijk just went full Dutch Dennis Rodman, went up for the rebound, palmed the ball in front of goal. I mean, handed a penalty, picked up a yellow, spent the rest of the first half looking just so shell-shocked Then everyone stopped talking about Konate's poor form, which I realised was just a truly selfless move. What a captain! What a captain's move that is. I'll take the attention from you, Konate. 10 minutes later, Liverpool, they were level. Tidy reflex rebound from Dominic Szoboszlai. Really, the only player for Liverpool who seems immune to whatever sleeping sickness has just completely consumed his entire teammate squad. But it was ultimately piece of misdirection. Just over 10 minutes into the second half, Liverpool began to unravel, being on the counter. Really an evergreen comment this season. James, even the mighty Ina Garten can't carve a turkey the way PSV effortlessly sliced through Liverpool's midfield. I think a guy called Goose Till, 2 U's in there, scored the winner for PSV against Breda, as you know, last weekend. Picked up his 10th goal of the season. I think it means he gets to add a third U to his first name. Isn't that how it works? But Liverpool were on their way to, this is incredible, 9 defeats in 12. This is shocking. Their worst run since 1954. They were relegated that season, James.
Yeah, well, I suppose in the league phase of the Champions League, they can be relegated. I mean, they have to play Inter. They play Union Saint-Gilloise. I saw a colleague of mine saying it's all right. On the final day, they play Karabag.
Yeah.
Karabag have sort of been a bit of a revelation so far in this competition. I know they lost last night against Napoli, but it was 0-0 until 65 minutes. They saved the penalty. They almost beat Chelsea. They've beaten Benfica.
I just know Rory. I'll say Karabag. You'll beat Rory. Will be like, I fear Karabag. That's where it's gotten to.
Yeah, Rory. When he sees Karabag, he does not have a floppy cannon. He loves Karabag. But yeah. So I don't. I know people say it's completely crazy to consider sacking Arne Slot, given we're only 3 months removed from him winning the league. And Jamie Carragher was on English TV the other night saying championship winning coaches at Liverpool never get sacked. They either resign or just kind of leave when they want to retire and that sort of thing. But I'm not sure that decision kind of rests with Arne Slot.
I know this is fascinating to me. I mean, you've got to where I want to go to. I mean, they were so open. There were 2 goals late on by Kuhaib Drioche. Final goal was just the best or the worst illustration of just how open and bedraggled Liverpool are right now. And you've driven us to Arne Slot. Last season seemed to be the master of half-time adjustments, just always tweaking, always recalibrating. Suddenly, he looks like a man who's out of ideas. He's like Jaleesa Castrodale, my Liverpool supporting fan who tells me, insights into the games here. She wrote that he's like a magician who knows he's never going to guess your card. He's in flop sweats. Is he going to finish the trick? He's probably not going to finish the trick. He's just bald, cold, lying naked on the floor. No one wants to see that. He's got West Ham at the weekend, then Sunderland. It is that he looks so woefully solutionless, and he's signalling that to us. It's ridiculous. I'm confused. These words. This man needs to show he can staunch the bleeding very quickly, because this is not a club that can afford to be out of the Champions League places just for their whole financial model, James.
Well, yeah, and also, I mean, maybe they could have had they not spent 400 million in the transfer window. I mean, it felt like all of their prudent housekeeping over the last couple of years had built towards this super splurge, which was going to start a dynasty of them winning the title over and over and over again. And I mean, you mentioned those adjectives that Slot's using to describe himself and his situation. I think they're really bad signals to kind of send to the players, like, I'm confused. Okay, so the guy doesn't have any answers. And B, to the higher ups in Boston who are watching this, thinking okay, maybe he doesn't have the solution. And what was so impressive about Slot last year was he would come out after a win, and he would sort of wow the English media on the sideline by basically telling you all the answers. This is how I did it. This is what we spotted. I made this adjustment here. I saw that this player wasn't doing that. We adapted to it, and we won because of that. And it's like, well, how is that deserted you now? Which maybe speaks to a wider problem, really.
Redhead Redemption 1573 says you retire the hero or you live long enough to manage in the championship. I don't know what to tell you, baby. I don't know what to tell
Love
you.
it.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I'm trying to open my heart. Brene Brown came on the show and she commanded me not to have any schadenfreude. She said, open your heart. Open your heart. I'm really trying tonight, Brene. Paris Saint-Germain 5, Tottenham 3. Oh, you tried. In Paris, we want to. How would Tottenham bounce back from that public wet willy and atomic wedgie given out by Arsenal at the weekend? Fascinating game. They took the lead twice. History will forget this. One of the goals, 2 goals from former PSG 100 million man Randall Kolo Muani, who wore a stylish jaw brace to protect his fractured jaw.
Yeah, it's quite Hannibal Lecter for me.
Yeah, it looks more like just genuinely like a fetishist who's really into Abraham Lincoln. It's just
or like the mouthpiece, the ball, the red ball has somehow been left off. Yeah,
it's genuinely amazing. Abraham Lincoln come alive as a Premier League striker. Didn't celebrate, did smile when he scored. Really, the game was put away by Vitinha. God bless, thunderbastarded, I think is the technical term for his first goal. I mean, just absolutely, that post is still vibrating. Stunning. For me, the best goal of match day. Scored a hat-trick. I think he'd never scored more than one game. It was really remarkable to watch him force his will on this game. I mean, it's incredible, this Portuguese midfielder, 25, is just growing and growing at PSG. Just the evolution, the just watching him, it's like watching a flower bloom in fast motion. Just a player who's at Wolverhampton Wanderers. I mean, how close for you is Vitinha to staking the claim as the best, kind of most all-round, highest impact midfielder in the world right now?
Oh, I think really since the start of the calendar year, he has been that. I mean, he plays like he's in a tuxedo with kind of whilst kind of bringing champagne around for everybody. He wouldn't spill a glass or spill a drop whilst he's doing that, because he's that elegant on the ball. And I mean, it's not just him. It's João Neves, the other Portuguese midfield player, who I think until tonight was PSG's top scorer. And yeah, those two boys, I mean, it really kind of gives you. I mean, Trump and Infantino didn't need to waive Cristiano Ronaldo's suspension for the beginning of the World Cup when they've got João Neves and Vitinha in midfield, because those guys are ballers who can completely dominate anybody if they want.
So what James is saying is up there as the best in the world with maybe Kieran Dewsbury-Hall, who will get to imminently. For Spurs, 9 goals conceded in 4 days. I'm a huge Thomas Frank fan. I hope he gets patience from Tottenham supporters. He won't get time, I don't think. Mostly because Tottenham supporters have been asked for so much patience from so many managers for so bloody much. At Dimitri Dre in the chat says, "What's it, Spurs lads?" in French. Even it's garçon, isn't it, man?
C'est Spurs garçon.
Yes, it's Spurs garçon. Everything sounds kinder and more beautiful in French. In other games, talking about the French, Kylian Mbappe scored a hat-trick in 6 minutes, 43 seconds, second fastest all-time in the Champions League against Marinakis Olympiacos, who'd actually scored first. Mbappe ended up with 4 in a 4-3 squeaky bum win. Don't know how you say squeaky bum in Spanish, James, do you? Google.
Cool. No, I don't know.
Google Translate tells me Trasero Kirianti. I have no idea if that's right. So a big win in Frankfurt for Atalanta. Inter went down late, 2-1 at Atletico. Q Diego Simeone storming down the sideline in celebration, a familiar, and it's lovely to see it again. So about last night, quickly, Manchester City 0, Leverkusen 2. Pep rested 10 starters for the weekend. No Haaland starting, no Foden, no chemistry. Very little hope. First loss at home in the group stage of Champions League in 23 days. 23 games, huge for Bayer Leverkusen, who are not really the Bayer Leverkusen of our mind. Pep being Pep did not exactly explain why he had 10 fresh starters. City only have Leeds at the weekend, but it was pretty fascinating. He almost made the Champions League group stage here, James, a little bit like a Continental Carabao Cup exercise. I love him when he loses. He's most fascinating. He said, I didn't have the players to do 11 changes, which is crazy. Archie Rintut tweeted, City's B team cost $481 million. Leverkusen's starting 11 was 222, which is a lot by German standards. Do we read anything into this other than just pepping?
The pep roulette in full effect. Yeah, I mean, just don't spend 400 million on teams. Yeah, Liverpool did that. City have done it on their bench. They played their bench. It just doesn't work, does it, anymore? I mean, I found Pep's whole narrative before the game just weird. You know, he was like, it's a final. You know, we don't want to happen what happened last year to us. It was this time last year they lost to Sporting 4-1 when Ruben Amorim was Sporting coach. When they then played Feyenoord, I think they were up and they drew 3-3. They then lost to Juventus. They lost to PSG, and they needed something in that final game against Club Brugge to qualify. And he's been saying, I don't want the same thing to happen. And Pep's coached in the Bundesliga. He always talks up how good they are on the counter-attack, the transitions. And yet, aside from what he said verbally, you know, from his decisions, you'd be like, actually, you haven't really taken this all that seriously.
Yeah, it's only a year ago that I think yesterday that Pep did the face scraping. I mean, this is where we are. This is who he is, and God bless. This is a very, very strange and wonderful one. Maybe with the Christmas season on the horizon, it was just peak Pep. Pepping very quickly. Chelsea 3, Barcelona 0. Really flaccid Barcelona. Floppy cannon Barcelona. Down and out long before Ronald Araujo got a second yellow and reduced to 10 men. Chelsea really looking like the flowing team who won the Club World Cup. Caicedo, Enzo, Coil Fist, Pedro Neto. Utterly majestic. And that star boy, Estevao. Quick of foot and mind. Even Liam Bloody Delap scored. This stat's incredible. Estevao, James, 18 years, 215 days, third teenager to score in each of his first 3 Champions League starts after Kylian Mbappe and Erling Haaland. It is some company. Chelsea romped, but perhaps the joy of the night was being able to sing "You're just a crap Estevao" to Lamine Yamal. That's why we watch football, huh?
Yeah. I mean, look, we should expect nothing less, Rog. I mean, the tifo that the Chelsea fans put on before was saying that Chelsea is the king of clubs, because we shouldn't forget this. They're the world champions. They've won it all. And, you know, I think to talk about Estevao for a split second, remember at the Club World Cup, it was like Chelsea signed João Pedro halfway through that tournament. João Pedro just sort of blew it open and played really well, scored the goals. And now with Estevao there, or Pedro Neto playing through the middle, it's becoming a little bit difficult for João Pedro to get into the team. So, Chelsea deserve a lot of credit for Real Madrid buying so many young Brazilians that they couldn't fit Estevao in their team. Because what a talent he is.
And that was Lamine Yamal's first game against Premier League opposition. It was the first time we've really seen him in the shadows in a massive game. Marseille 2, Newcastle 1. Cacophonous stadium there. Marseille so dogged at home. Newcastle so rancid on the road. Harvey Barnes. It did remind me of watching Marseille Stadium of like St. James's Park with more bouillabaisse instead of brown ale. Lovely to see. Comeback win after Harvey Barnes' contractually obliged goal. Aubameyang, 2 goals, 36 years of age, minutes apart. Everything Arsenal coming up golden. Quick mention of our American boys in the Champions League. Weston McKennie, 90 minutes. Scored with a huge Air Jordan-esque leap, 59th minute in Juventus' 3-2 win at Bodo Glimt. Tim Weah assisted a 50th minute winner in Marseille's 2-1 win over Newcastle. Malik Tillman beat City, went the full game in that Leverkusen 2-0 win. And Flo Balogun scored in Monaco's 2-2 draw with mighty pathos. At Brinks15 in the chat says, Balogun with a goal today, Destin assist, Pepe off the woodwork, Pulisic, Weah, Tillman scoring regularly like we thought. We just got too many goal scorers in the United States of America. Before we take your questions, I want to acknowledge, yes, Everton beat Manchester United 1-0 on Monday night in a game of football that made me feel so good. Witnessing Seamus Coleman limp off after 9 minutes, agony. Watching Garnagay sent off for slapping his own teammate on 30 minutes, peak Everton. And then we score a worldie with 10 men and fight the most inspired rearguard action, giving David Moyes his first ever league victory as a visiting manager at Old Trafford. And our first victory there since David Moyes was Manchester United manager in 2013. This was an amazing game, James. It made me feel so good. David Moyes said after the game, I like my players fighting on the field. That game made me laugh in a way. It was like the Naked Gun of football matches, James. It was just slapstick Leslie Nielsen crap.
Yeah, and I do think there's something about the cosmology of the city of Liverpool at the moment, where whatever is happening to Liverpool or seemed to happen to Liverpool for many, many years, it's now seemed to have just blown over the Hill Dickinson. They're catching some of this stardust, this kind of impossibility. Because I was watching that game and I honestly didn't see any way back from that red card for Everton, and watching it, I was I was both laughing. I was both sort of disgusted and kind of like, this is brilliant, because it allows you to kind of go through all of the kind of rogues gallery of Premier League teammates, sort of getting into it, sort of be it Graham Lasso and David Batty in Moscow for Blackburn in the 1 year that Blackburn win the Champions League, or Kieran Dyer and Lee Bowyer at Newcastle.
It's mark of a great team. It was an insane moment, a moment I imagine is actually not just flickering up in that second, but is something lingering from training, the way all the other players reacted. But to rise up from that true self-inflicted wound and experience joy, we lived all of the emotions, the roller coaster, which is why I love football. To your questions very quickly, reminder how this works on YouTube Live. Just scan the QR code, come be with us. I love you all. We're going to take a couple very quickly and then we're going to Thanksgiving it up. First up, it's the mighty Andrew P. Unmute. Come on up. What's your question for Horny Horncastle?
Hey there. Y'all touched on this a little bit, but want to talk about Pep's lineup decision-making against Leverkusen. This dropped them to 9th in the table, and I'm wondering if you think it is a serious disadvantage or not to make the top 8 or not make the top 8 in this new format.
So I think it is an advantage to make the top 8, particularly finish as high as you can, because if you look at last year, the top 4, with one exception, reached the last 4 of the competition. The one exception was the team that finished top of the league phase, which was Liverpool, who were knocked out by PSG, the eventual winners, who didn't finish in the top 8. But the other teams, Inter and Barcelona, they were top 4 teams. So I think there is something to it. And you certainly don't want to fall into that second playoff bracket where you're coming up against kind of seeded teams, because there you really do have to get lucky. Although, if we're talking about City and City specifically, City, I think, unless things really deteriorate, and they have lost 2 on the bounce, they're in a better position than they were last year. And Pep keeps teasing us that Rodri is almost back. He's almost back. But yeah, as I said earlier, it was bizarre given his pre-match comments about how important it is to win the Leverkusen game and then get a point in the next, and they would be qualified, not for the top 8, but they would be qualified. It was bizarre for him to then make those 10 changes, given that was his goal, I suppose.
And then have to chase the game and insert all the guys he was trying to rest in the first place. It was a very curious thing. It was deeply unexplained. I mean, he really didn't reveal his cards. And we will see. I mean, ultimately, this is around the time that Pep wants his team to start peaking. He cares about when the calendar hits December. This is when he wants everything to come together. So something in there. That's where he wants it to start peaking. That's where he wants hitting into January. It's where he wants to suddenly run away with and reveal their truth. So I would imagine it's something linked to that reality. But whether it happens or not, we will see. You're a beautiful human being. I'm going to take these 2 last questions, and then we're going to Thanksgiving it up in the face. I'm actually going to take an entire day. Got kind of take a day off. I've not told my wife I got to do something in the morning. But let's go to It's the Mighty Gustavo. Remind us where you're from, you beautiful human being, and tell us what's your question for Honey Horncastle.
Hey, Rog, I'm in Orlando, Florida.
Oh, good Lord. How is it down there?
It's humid and then kind of cold during the night. So, we have the best of both worlds. And also, it's horrible for what clothes to pick in the morning. But
I like a cold bedroom, Gustavo.
That Orlando Pride game. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. Nothing worse than the Orlando Pride. I wasn't going to bring that up, beautiful. I am so sorry. But you experienced glory last season. You know how it is. Even Liverpool win a title, then get relegated. That's how life is. It's just a cycle, baby. What's your question for Horny Horncastle?
100%. No, my question is Arsenal. I mean, you see them soaring not only in the league, but also in the Champions League now. And we've seen it before where, they're top of the table for Christmas, and then, things don't go our way. I'm wondering if you guys have any thoughts on what else is making them soar this season, and if there's more reason for hope other than the added depth, or if we're just being lucky that the injuries that we've had haven't affected us as much this time around. Just thoughts. I did not expect to beat Bayern that comfortably.
Gustavo wants to know, do you foresee banana skins? Essentially, we are watching rampant football. We're watching joyous football. We're watching delirious firework and tifo propel wonder, James. But when it comes to Arsenal, we've seen hope turn into false hope. We've seen it turn into false hope, like going through into the new year. Is there a banana? They've seemed so dominant. They've seen so rampant. They've seen so impermeable. They've seen so potent from so many positions, so many players on the field. They've seen almost impervious to injury. So, James Horncastle, don't want you to speak it into existence, but is there, in your crystal ball, a banana skin that we've not seen coming?
At the moment, I don't think there is. I thought the one banana skin would be their own fear, particularly if City put a run together. And we've seen in the last week the defeat that they suffered to Newcastle, defeat they suffered to Leverkusen. It sort of it gives you all the more satisfaction, I think, if you're an Arsenal player, to have had the day you did in the North London derby, to have had the night that they've had tonight against Bayern Munich. I think if there was a team really breathing down their neck. And this is the thing, the only team at the moment that's breathing down their neck is not City, it's not Liverpool, it's actually Chelsea, who they play at the weekend. So that could get kind of quite interesting if Chelsea were to win that, because I think they'd be within 3 points. But really, this time last year, Arsenal fans were sort of worried because they were without Saka, they were without Odegaard. None of that seems to have mattered. They seem to have really sort of learned from that experience. I think the players who actually filled in then have learned from that experience, and obviously they've addressed it in the transfer market. So I think unless there was someone that could make them fear that it's theirs to lose, I think they can just enjoy the moment at the moment, and that makes them really, I think, really dangerous. I mean, people are just talking about the first Premier League in more than 2 decades. There's no reason why this Arsenal couldn't maybe do something really special, like a treble.
We're getting tattoos, guys. We are getting the tattoos. Can I just say, it is amazing. I mean, it really is amazing watching this Arsenal. What you've just said, James, is true. Like Odegaard getting injured. That is the leitmotif of disaster ensuing. And the fact that they have risen up harder, stronger, faster than before without him, I think you can look at that and just feel utterly resilient. To me, that is the amazing. Well, there's a number of amazing human things about Arsenal Football Club. In the YouTube comments, people often like, "Oh, Roger's a closet Arsenal fan." You know, I've got to say, I'm a closet fan of incredible human value. And I do think, like, James, in England, we love nothing more than failure. Other people's failure that's the joke. We prefer it to our own success. And so Arsenal, quote, bottling it the last 3 seasons has given so many people so much untold delight. And then you do internalise, is this who I am? The Buffalo Bills and Marv Levy always going to lose in a final 3 times on the run. Is that as good as it gets? It's very hard to rebound from that. Do we have it in us? Am I the... And Arteta ruminates on this. You know, he does. He ruminates in the postseason. Am I the man who can give us what we need? Is this me? Have I reached my ceiling? Do I have it in me to go higher, to go stronger, to go that one place up? And watching that whole team, fight doubt, fight mockery, fight being labelled bottlers, and rise up harder, faster. You know, I said earlier, the bullied being bullies, and just watching Declan Rice, just try and intimidate other people. Like Saliba, who I'm going to speak to on Friday, he says he loves to get into the head to create fear in opponents. This kind of human ability to fail again, and if they do succeed, I think it's bloody thrilling and honestly quite unbelievably inspirational. So I wish that for you. Having said that, Arsenal have found incredibly agonizing that history. That's probably the fear, the existential fear that the self-destruction, that streak for self-annihilation. But God, this squad, that's the other amazing thing. Having players fit in and know their roles almost seamlessly. You saw that with Hincapié at the weekend. Gabriel was meant to be the everything. He's off. We've not even talked about him. In comes Hincapié. Unbelievable. So having these players step in and the team not miss a beat, I think it's just phenomenal. I wish you incredible joy. It will be the greatest story since Liverpool lived their greatest story, that transformational wonder of Arne Slot. And look where that is now. We've got time very quickly for one more. Let's take it. It's the mighty Jake. Take us home. Take us to the Thanksgiving turkey, Jake. Tell us where you are and what's your question.
Hello, Raj and James. I'm Jake from Gainesville, Florida. I'm going to bring it back to the Everton match. They are coming up after their unpredictable weekend to the unpredictable Newcastle, who obviously also cannot decide whether or not they are good or not good. I would love to know what you think it takes for them to win against Newcastle. Can they do it? How many players do they have to fight on their own team? What will it take? Let me know.
I love you, Jake. I got to say, I did. Part of me watch that. It was so mad, the gay sending off. I thought this may have been Moyes being crazy like a fox. Like, let me just insert complete confusion and a game state that no other manager will have considered or prepared for. I'm going to have one of my players slap another and get sent off crazy like a fox, and it worked. God, but James, Newcastle, just hearing Jake say Newcastle, Everton, I fear the Newcastle. I really do. I mean, that is just chaos against chaos, right? I don't know how that works, a negative and a negative, whether they cancel out or add.
But is this at the Dockland Citadel that is the Hill Dickinson? Because Newcastle have lost 4 on the bounce, haven't they, on their travels? And they get travel sick. And the thing about Newcastle is that their game model, their playing style, which is all about intensity, high pressing, like as deep as their squad is, that squad is like shallow because everybody's injured. They can't play like they did against City every 3 days. And so I think that's a real problem for them. So, but then again, Everton have had the whole week to prepare, yes, but they did play with 10 men for an awful long time. That might sap something from them, unless that crazy fox.
Yep. Yeah, by the way, you can imagine Moyes doing slapping in training. All right, lads, line up, face each other, slap, on command, slap, slap. We used to have to do that. I remember rugby training. We did to. Oh my God, it was amazing. English phys ed, just the slap. By the way, I do want to end with a beautiful tweet from a very smart Everton follow at L Bretland, who tweeted, because Everton have just had so many crazy refereeing decisions. L tweeted, if you'd said a year ago some Everton bookings and red cards would stem from a player impersonating a seagull, taking a quick free kick, and an altercation between teammates, I wouldn't have he said, I wouldn't have I would have absolutely believed you and thought that sounds spot on. This is the state of Everton. This is why I love the club. It's just joyous mayhem and wonder, making the greatest out of very, very little. I would say if it was at Goodison, the game, Newcastle would thump us because we're very good for what ails you. We're a charity. But at Hill Dickinson, it will be very, very interesting. At Redhead Redemption 1573 says, Moyes plays 5D chess, 5D. And says, strikerless Arsenal just bossed Europe's top team. This time, Charlie Brown kicks the football. God bless. May we all watch that this year. I would love it. We're all getting tattoos. Have we all agreed? We're all getting the tats. We are off. One last note to send you on your festive way towards a Thanksgiving feast. We have a brand new Men in Blazers store. You can go shop.meninblazers.com. A lot of people have worked so hard on this. I'm so grateful to them all, especially the mighty Zach, who's put a ton of beautiful new merch in that Men in Blazers store. There's the women's game. There's Vamos. We have more living together in one place. There's going to be a Black Friday deal coming up this weekend, as you do in America. Have a look around and know that we're so grateful for your support, because grabbing our stuff helps us do more. And to you, James Horncastle, I am so bloody thankful for you. You'll be over here next week. Are you ready for the greatness that New York and Boston has on offer?
Yeah. Can't wait, particularly to dance in the ballroom in New York, and visit Boston really for the first time. So yeah,
I asked James if you've ever been here before, and you were like, "Yes, you came for a fish show, right?"
Yes, Madison Square Garden for the one and only time I will see fish. I hope I'm not in the same estate for our World Cup draw that I was in that Madison Square Garden gig. I've never.
You will be, James. You will be by the end of it. You're a beautiful human being. It's amazing to be. It's amazing to be with you, GFOPs. It's amazing to be with my whole staff on this show. I wish each and every one of you joy wherever you're going for Thanksgiving. Be safe. I hope it's deeply meaningful. Enjoy your football. We'll smash it this weekend. Big love to all of you. And courage.